exactly how that might work. Sometimes the change might work out well in our favor, but other times it may cause the entire company to collapse. There's also the fear of status or position loss. If somebody is up to a certain level in the company, or they hold a certain position, this change might feel threatening to them because they've always done things this way and now things are changing, and so they fear a status or position loss. There's also the fear of risk. Because it's the future and we can't predict the future wholly, there's always a risk when we make any kind of change. But change is going to happen with or without us. China found that out when the Great Wall of China was built, and they spent hundreds of years being protected from the outside. Then people came with gunships and weapons, and they weren't prepared for it. So there's the fear of risk. Is both good and bad, because if you try to protect yourself from everything, then you're going to stay stagnant. The fear of becoming useless, that's another big one. People feel that's similar to the fear of status or position loss, but the feeling that I have nothing left to offer, that's another thing that for foresight avoidance, for change, people are going to want to resist for a number of these reasons. And there's a lot of different ways to cope with that. We don't have time to talk about it tonight, but knowing this is important when we talk about futures. So the reduction of errors. The models and processes are guided, and that's for a reason. It's so that we can reduce the redundancies. It's so we can find errors that maybe wouldn't have been found before. It's so we can have other people contribute and get new ideas that we hadn't had before. It's so we can reduce problems. Something wrong with that sign? The difference between wrong and unlikely is highly subjective. When you're brainstorming, there's not really a sense of wrong unless somebody is bringing up something totally off topic, completely out of context. But as long as people are focused on the conversation, on the dialogue, then there's really no wrong answers, because brainstorming is subjective. And we want to get all the different future possibilities that we can get, as unlikely or outlandish as it may sound. So let me introduce you guys to the futures wheel. This is what we're going to do for the activity tonight. And let me turn off one light again so you can see the video a little better.
Come up with something that you think is likely to have significant implications for Canada. This is a rapid ideation divergent thinking exercise to push you to apply that future thinking and to explore possibility. At the end of that time, you all should have something to explore written in a circle at the center of your paper. You're going to trace out 4 likely implications. I want to tell you now, you're not all going to agree. That's not a fight, that's good divergent thinking. What is the problem that I want to solve?
And I know that was super brief, that's why we are going to go over it together. There we go. Let me turn this down. Okay, so with future perspectives, again, as we get ready to start this exercise, subjective is okay. It's not incorrect necessarily. The benefits are with futures wheels is that it's excellent for initial brainstorming. It's performed in a single meeting, so you could do it over a luncheon, you could do it over just a brief afternoon meeting, and it can be in as little, depending on the group size, as little as about 15 minutes you could get this done. Tonight we're going to spend 30 minutes on it, but you could do, depending on how large it is, it might take an hour, but usually 15 minutes to an hour is what's common for this. It's easy to follow and it's duplicatable. And what I like about this also is that it's not just for business. You can actually use this for personal things. If you have a budgeting issue, or if you have some type of trust problem, you can, and as we do this together, you'll find out why. But this is a really simple process that's basically a series of if-then statements. If this happens, what comes of it? So one thing that you do want to have, you always want to have a facilitator with any processes, someone that can guide the conversation and keep it on track if it starts to get out of hand. Like the guy on the video just said, there might be a difference of opinion, and that's good. But some people might take it too far, raise their voice. That's what the facilitator is for, to keep things on track. So when we set up a futures wheel, the first thing we do is draw a circle. As you saw the circles in the diagram on the video. The first thing we do is draw a circle. We identify the issue. So since we're a small group tonight, we can do this together. If anybody has anything, we can do a live workshop on something that you want to deal with tonight, or we can just pick a random issue. We identify the issue. It can be a trend, a social change, a new law, a dilemma that you're dealing with, economics, politics. It can be just about anything you want. Anything that needs consequence consideration. What's going to happen if this happens? So select the group. Diverse is better, again, because diverse means that you're going to get a variety of opinions. Like-minded people will generally give like-minded answers. Groups of 4 to 6, so if this is a luncheon and you're doing it in a business or something, then if there's 20 people, you might want to break it up into groups of 4 or 5 each. And then briefly explain the order of consequences, which is what I'm about to do with you guys here. You get the topic, you get the first order of consequence, the second, and the third. Each step that we do distinctly. We don't do them, we don't provide the topic, go to first, and then based on that first, go to the second. We do the topic, we do all the firsts. If this topic happens, say it's gun laws. If this happens, then what comes from it? And we do all the first, and they all have to be direct. Nothing intervening or intertwined, no indirects. Everything has to be a direct result of the initial topic, and that's all your firsts. Then all the seconds will be direct results of the firsts. So the consequences that happens directly from the topic, and then the consequences of that, and then the thirds are the consequences of what happened in the second consequences. Typically, you don't take it past the third. The people that put this program together have tried going up to second only, going up to fourth and fifth, and they said third has shown the most results. Plus, if you start getting to fourths, then you're going to need to probably get somebody in there to guide it and facilitate it a little better. So if we get stuck trying to figure out what the consequences may be, this is an acronym, STEEPLE, that I've come to enjoy. STEEPLE on its own is another futures perspective, and there's a whole process with that, and that takes a lot longer than 90 minutes. That takes more like a week, with what dedicated to a company, usually a week of half days or maybe 2.5 full days. So we don't have time for that tonight, but we can use the acronym to help us if we start to get stuck on some ideas of consequences. What will happen socially? What could happen technologically with this? Economically, environmentally, politically, legally, and ethically. Some basic ideas of social, that's you've got your culture, you've got lifestyle trends. Those are two big things right now. There's education, age and demographics, and careers. With technology, you've got the resources, automation, tech awareness, research, growth, new innovations. Economics is everything that I disliked in class. Economic growth, exchange rates, interest rates, inflation, purchasing power, unemployment rates, income, and investment ops. And you don't have to memorize all this.